So having voice-controlled objects might be a hugely beneficial in the future, but there's many issues with that. What about making it fair for people with all accents? Different vernaculars. Language is evolving and changing. What if you have a speech disorder? What if you're tired or out of it? What if there's a lot of background noises? So it's not just simply, oh yeah, let's make a voice-controlled thing. Part of it is data and training, and the more we use it, the more data and training is, and the more worthwhile and easier it becomes. But these are some ideas I have to get around the problem that might be more doable in the immediate future. One thing is to train it on accent stuff by having people read out loud things. And as they read out loud various things, they will learn to recognize, it will learn to correspond to what you read out loud to your accent. Is this always perfect? No, and it also demands that people actually do read out loud stuff for it. How could you make it beneficial for me if people read out loud? Maybe it's training kids to read in some program. That's maybe one way. Maybe you pay people or there's a bonus reward program. Maybe it is something natural task that you read out loud stuff for, like you reading out loud stuff to someone else for conversation. Or maybe people want to read out loud stuff in their own accent to make like audiobooks or something, an audiobook in their accent and speech mannerism. So maybe you can find out tasks like that, and it'll be interesting if we can just make more audiobooks and audio files for a variety of people. That might be a worthwhile job for people that have trouble reading or just want to listen while driving or something. Another one is that it starts to find natural variations in people, so it can identify. So this is it. It listens to you talking. It knows that what you're saying is, but it did not know that people can vary that much. So it picks up that slight variation and then can apply it to other places. So maybe it figures out, A varies this by this much, so maybe E varies by this much. So it becomes better at recognizing a more general aspect of humanity by listening to more people. Then it can explain it to farther and farther out places where it hasn't heard as much because it's more adjacent. Hopefully that makes some sense. Another thing that it could do is it could maybe have a feature that simply just asks you what you're doing, and if it doesn't understand you, so it learns from the feedback of asking you back and forth. Again, you would have to make this feature good, enough that it can really take off to understand you somewhat. You might be saying, sorry, I don't understand you. Can you speak quieter or slower? Or can you type in what you were saying? The problem with typing in is what people do not have the best spelling, on the other hand. But then maybe we can also use that to learn about training better spelling identification software, or to learn different ways of spelling, alternative spelling. Sometimes alternative spelling does carry cultural weight because it might be like internet culture, it might be AAVE, or something else that's going on. Or it might be they combine language or new languages evolving. Even. Another one is just people just subtitling videos and stuff like that, so it has a bigger training database. And that subtitling ones can learn from videos with a variety of accents. And if you also mark where the video is where, or the speakers from where, or what accent is in the video, it might be even able to learn more and make other connections and stuff to train it. Sometimes training a computer on a variety of tasks actually makes it a whole lot smarter, for the reason that when it trains on a variety of tasks, it can overlap some of the training data and it can more interfere it. For example, if you train a AI to learn to identify colors separately and birds, and then when you train it, you ask it to identify a cardinal, it might not be saying red or bird, but it already knows somewhat how to identify colors and birds. and cardinals are pretty red. If you train it to identify food and human, you might be able to identify better human eating. So there's always a somewhat overlap. And it's not always as clear cut as I'm saying, but you can find it. Another way that the software could maybe do it is if it has more of a contextual understanding, it can fill in the blanks. So even if it doesn't understand what word you're saying, it can better guess what words should fill in based on the other words around it. There's a variety of AIs. This one probably member actually for a variety of AIs to train them to learn speech and text. It's where they purposely train a specific text or speech, and they masks part of the one. So like a word in the middle is missing, and it has to guess the word. And that can also train it to better comprehend stuff, and later in the future solve problems, such as you can feed it 1 + 1 =. Then it fills in the blank 4. Sorry, 2. Wow. It fills in the blank. I was thinking about 2 + 2. Embarrassing. But it learns to fill in blanks, which can give it, because it has comprehension. Another one is that while it's translating stuff for you, it can color different things in different colors depending on the uncertainty it has and what it's actually talking about. By coloring it, or it can use other ways of marking it when it's translating it. And you might be like, oh, I'm talking about translating voice. Well, not necessarily. It might be translating stuff with making subtitles. Also, if it's talking to you, it might emphasize stuff in different ways, like make it louder or not. It might change colors on a screen or something when it doesn't know something, have a little marker. So you know to be more iffy about the stuff that might not be working as well with. And it also might do stuff where it asks for a different type of input if it really does not get you. You might also really want to just have a quick way of just getting rid of voice control in some cases when it gets really annoying. Sometimes I've had that with automated service things. So another way that this whole thing might work in the future is you might have ability to read more, added stuff like you can read lips more for people that have trouble enunciating certain things because of voice being muffled or something. Of course, they can't read lips all the time. Look for other context clues such as body movement and motions. Again, that's a very situational case, but could help in some cases. Very, very much. Now, something that is kind of in conjunction with 1D is it could look at locations and use the locations to start figuring out how people in different regions speak. So, and one way you might be able to do this that I didn't discuss in 1D is, let's say you speak language. I'm just going to randomly pick German. Well, you might learn that people speak English a certain way, and there's a correlation. You might learn that, let's say, French speakers speak English in a certain way, so there's a correlation, and so on and so on. Now, when it figures out your native language, how it's spoken, how it sounds like, you might look at some totally different language. Let's say Swahili, and say there's people Swahili speak English. It might say like, so if a Swahili speaker speaks English, I'm guessing it's going to sound like this, with this, even though I've never heard it this way, and be able to better figure that out. Or it might be able to more quickly guess how it should listen to you. Oh, you're from this region, I'm more likely you speak like this, so I'm going to become extra sensitive to this method of speaking and not waste all my powers first searching for everything. So I become quicker and more better translating the moment. I kind of do this in my own thing is I have speech processing problems, so sometimes I listen for certain ways of speaking and I have to switch which way I learn speaking based on the speaker. I think maybe more people do this, but for me it's just not as it's more important and it's not as seamless of a thing than most people. Another thing that it could do is it could chat with you more often and back and forth, so it learns just how to speak with you in a more quieter setting with less disturbances, stuff like that. A use of this technology maybe is it modifies how it speaks when it sends it back to you. So if you have trouble understanding a person or something, you can understand them better themselves. So it's also reversed with all this stuff. So maybe you'll better translate text into a way, sorry, voices the way you understand. Well, thank you very much for listening. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers a year and 4,000 watch hours, which is really hard. With your help, I think I can do it. Of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, comments, or suggestions, or just questions, please leave in the comment section below. It really helps out. And also, please like it and subscribe and share. Again, thank you very much. Goodbye.